Hey everyone, my name is Sienna Boyd. We are back in the kitchen again today with Amy Sotis, our nutritionist we work very closely with. And today we will be chatting about spaghetti squash, which is one of my favorite recipes, especially coming into fall. So today we're going to be making spaghetti squash boats that are like lasagna, so fozagna.
Yeah, so I call this one the Italian spaghetti squash boats because of the way we present it. But you don't have to do that, but why not? Make it look like a cute presentation. You'll wow your guests.
Yeah.
Or your family, whoever you're making it for.
Okay, awesome. So spaghetti squash, tell us a little bit about that. I know every time I've made it for people, people are like, what is this? What are you cutting into? Is this really spaghetti? What is spaghetti squash and how do we make it? Tell us all about it.
Okay, so squash is a fall favorite amongst many people, yet others don't cook with it at all. So I thought this would be a great recipe for right now since it is in October. And what we're doing with the spaghetti squash is we're basically bringing in one of the varieties of squash. So there's a lot of varieties of squash that are commonly found in your grocery store. There's acorn squash, butternut squash, spaghetti squash. I mean, there's really actually probably 20 that you could find if you looked hard at a pumpkin patch or, you know, depending on where you're shopping, farmers markets or whatever. But every store should have a spaghetti squash. And the reason it's called that is because once it's cooked, it shreds up like noodles.
It looks like little strings of noodles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the question some people would have is, what's wrong with spaghetti? Why can't I use spaghetti? Or why can't I make lasagna? And it's like, of course you can, and that's a favorite of almost everyone, right?
Yes.
But what we're doing here with the Sienna is we're basically swapping out something that's high carbohydrate with something that's low calorie and low carbohydrate for people who are trying to get more vegetables in your diet. So rather than inherently a bread-based product that's, you know, gluten, we're actually doing this gluten-free. So it's a nice substitute. And some people substitute noodles with zucchini noodles or other, we'll just say edamame or lentils. Zoodles. There's really a lot of varieties. Today we're just doing one with it's not processed at all. This is just how it's grown. So I am always going to foods that are less processed as possible. You don't have an ingredient list that's 5 or 10 ingredients. This is literally just the basic spaghetti squash. That's how it's grown in the ground. So
well, and I like that we're taking something that's high calorie and high carb and replacing it with something that's low calorie, low carb, which means we can eat more of it, which is nice. You can have much more vegetables, and it's not like you're gonna gain tons of weight like you would with eating high carbs and lots of them, right?
Yeah, and especially this is more of a dinner, and to be honest, with the amount of carbs that a serving of spaghetti has, we typically eat more than a serving.
Yes.
I mean, when you actually look at a plate of spaghetti, most of the times that's 2 to 3 servings, so you're looking at almost, for some people, depending on if they are not watching their portions, are getting 100 grams of carbs at night. And especially for most people, they don't need that, you know, carb loading. What are they doing the next day? Going to the office?
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe if you're playing like a football game or something, that sounds great.
If your marathons tomorrow, please eat a lot of spaghetti the night before. But typically, we don't need that many carbs at night, too. So this is a nice, wholesome and hearty and Italian flavored meal that is low carb.
So what's bringing in the wholesome heartiness and the Italian flavors? What are we adding to the spaghetti squash?
Yeah, we're going to add canned tomatoes. You could use fresh, but I think the canned here is better because especially you don't want the skins on those tomatoes really prominent in this. You want it to cook down with onion and garlic and just Italian seasoning. So it's actually pretty simple. We're going to add bell peppers here for a little bit extra boost for color. I like to add a little green. The spaghetti squash is white in color or slightly yellowish, so this adds the tomatoes and the green peppers.
And then for protein, what are we bringing in?
Yeah, we're going to swap out, you could do ground beef, but we're going to do ground turkey in today's recipe because obviously that has less fat. It's also a poultry product rather than a red meat product, which has some health benefits as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good. Honestly, I've made this before actually, and so I love the fat content. If you use it with beef, it's actually almost too runny and it doesn't really match well with the spaghetti squash. With the turkey, it's just perfect.
It's a little lighter.
A little lighter.
A little less heavy, less dense.
Yes. Yeah. And again, you can eat more of it if it's not as heavy. So
which
is
what I like to do. You can definitely go to town with your portion. You can have a full plate of this and not feel bad about it.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited to get in and cook, so let's get started.
Let's do it.